MLSAces Podcast, episode 102. This is your host, Tom Sweezy.
202.
202. Shit, thank
Oh,
you.
boy.
I'm used to saying 100s, you know? Episode 202. Jason is here. He's already corrected me once, so thank you very much. Vaughn, you are also here with us tonight. How is everybody doing?
Excited to be back.
Yeah, it
Excited
has
for
been...
decision day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. The lack of episodes is definitely on a hectic schedule the past few weeks. So apologize to the listeners about that. But Jason, you're right. Decision day is here, and there's a lot on the line. Getting into the last week of the season, leading into the best time of the year, the MLS Cup playoffs. So Jason, you do have a short schedule tonight, so it's all good. So we are going to dive straight into the soccer, and really start with this decision day stuff, because it's the best time of the year. I really love this day. I think the decision day episode, and I think the opening weekend episode, and the MLS Cup episode is usually like my three favorite episodes of the year. So let's dive into it. So 6 playoff spots on the line, 3 teams still qualifying East, 3 teams still to qualify in the West. 6 teams are still in the running for the Eastern Conference, 5 teams still in the running for the Western Conference. I guess we'll start in the East, I guess. I don't know, just because my mind immediately goes to the East first. But I guess
East is better.
I'll start with you, Jason. I guess really what game are you really looking at first where you're like, okay, this is like biggest implication on this Eastern Conference playoff run right now?
I mean, I think it's pretty clearly Montreal versus Orlando.
Yeah.
Because whoever wins is in. If Orlando gets a draw, I believe they're in. So it's a little bit more on Montreal to win, to kind of decide their fate. But I mean, that's what I love about decision day, is like these games that it never fails. There's always so many games that come down to, like, if you win, like, you control where you're going to be seated, or you control being in the playoffs. And it's honestly crazy. I don't know where we had Montreal at the beginning of the season. I feel like we were all very low on them.
I think so.
And so it would be a huge season for them to make the playoffs. And then on the other side of it, Orlando, I mean, they'd be really disappointed. I think they had expectation of being higher up in the Eastern Conference to this point, but it's just like this game, in my opinion, is really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to it, because one of these teams potentially will miss the playoffs.
Is there one way you're leaning in that game, Montreal or Orlando? Just because, I mean, I'm going to come right out. I'm leaning Montreal. Montreal has been good at home. Orlando's been shitty on the road. I think Montreal has been able to get a result against Orlando every single time they played this season as well. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Are you thinking Montreal, or are you going to the Lions?
I'm going Montreal. I also just kind of want Montreal to win. I just like the underdog story. But yeah, I just think Orlando I haven't been super impressed with overall this season. And so I think Montreal going into the playoffs is a more scary team. And for me, who has no team in the playoffs, I kind of want to see the scary teams, right? I want to see upsets or in better competition. And in my opinion, Montreal will provide that.
And Vaughn, this matchup, I think Jason picked out a really good first matchup to talk about. Are you leaning Montreal, leaning Orlando? I guess kind of who is that decision maker for you in this game?
I mean, like a player decision maker?
Could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, I think it's really going to come down to if Montreal can take care of business and if Georgi Mihailovic can continue his form of being a creator and a playmaker. I think it would be amazing for Montreal to make the playoffs after how much they were written off. But we've seen the dip here late in the season. So they would be a team that it would be a total bummer if they missed out. And for Orlando, it would be a significant drop off for them to just miss out on the playoffs altogether.
Yeah.
I think it is a very intriguing matchup. And Orlando, they're in a position where, go the other way. If they win it, they've got the potential to be hosting a home playoff game. It's like host a home playoff game, you miss the dance altogether. Like that's how tight things are out in the East.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I'm with you altogether. I think we're all leaning Montreal. I feel like, I think you're right. Also, Vaughn, Georgi Mihailovic is going to be kind of the key to see if Montreal can win one more must win, right? They just won a midweek game, which was pretty much a must win for them. Now they got to do it one more time. They have to do it at home, which is probably a nice feeling. But Georgi Mihailovic is 16 assists on the season. Really, he's been the star for them. He's been the playmaker. He's really been able to, I think, kind of skyrocket, especially from his time with Chicago. And I mean, I'm really looking for him to kind of do his thing in this game, be that creative force, and really be able to set up whoever's playing up top, whether it's, Quioto, Joaquin Torres, I guess Lapalainen. I don't really know who else is kind of going up top for Montreal, but really that is, I think, definitely one of the more important games in the Eastern Conference. But if you guys don't have any other points on that one, I want to go to this Red Bull Nashville game, because that game is huge, right? Red Bull, they kind of got on a little bit of a hot streak playing against New York City. They beat us twice, and that felt, there's a light here I'm trying to block. That was great, right? But then, Red Bull, they have a very tough schedule to end this season right now. And getting a draw at home against Atlanta midweek may not have been the best result for them. A win probably would have been nice at home, but now you're going up against Nashville, right? Nashville hasn't lost at home. You're playing away. I just really think that this game is going to be big, because Red Bull have shown flashes of being very good defensively. They're one of the better teams in the league, but Nashville's been there all season long. Hani Mukhtar is consistently throwing his name into the MVP candidacy, kind of that whole run, right? And I personally think Nashville pulls away. I think Nashville gets the dub at home, or at least pulls away with a draw, right? Would be 9 draws in the season at home, I'm pretty sure. But Vaughn, Nashville Red Bulls, I guess, kind of what are your thoughts on? Is there anyone you're trying to specifically look at in this one?
I mean, for me, I was going to highlight this same game because the playoff implications of seeding is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Red Bulls have not punched their ticket yet, so they're a team that perennially makes the playoffs, and this is a game that could kind of, in my estimation, be a pivot point for their franchise. I think it's pretty significant that they need to try and get the result to be able to make the playoffs in the first place. And then for playoff seeding, same thing. I think Red Bulls technically can still get a home playoff game if they win, and NYC, like, it could fall that way.
Yeah, it could.
So there's a lot of things that can happen here. And Nashville, the team that's been sitting in second in the conference for months, could be dropping down into fourth. They got their home playoff game secured, but this game is going to affect a lot of other games and results. And yeah, Nashville is a team, like you mentioned, all their draws. If they get a draw here, it could really just bust everything open out here in the East. So I'm curious to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Is Jason, I'm going to kind of go with the same question I threw at Vaughn earlier. Is there a specific player in this entire game, or a matchup or anything that you really feel like could be the difference maker for either team to pull away with a victory?
Yeah, I mean, so before I go into that, I just want to touch on Nashville, because I liked how Vaughn really went in on how the Red Bulls have a very, I don't even know, range of where they could end up. But I think that top of the East is just as interesting with this game, because, like Vaughn mentioned, Nashville can get second, they could get fourth, and I think that is a huge deal, because the longer you can avoid the Revs, the better, right? So they're obviously locked in at number one, but that second seed versus the third seed versus the fourth seed is a huge difference, because if you end up in that fourth spot, you might be playing New England in the second round. You might. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to, and maybe they're confident, but personally, I think it's a crucial game for both teams, and I don't know. I think it'll come down to Hani Mukhtar, right? Because that guy has been insane all season. Like we've argued about MVP here for him or whoever, but I think if he can really keep his form going as he has, and he can come in there and just dominate from the jump, get them on the front foot, Nashville is clearly good at defensively. If they can get in the front foot, they can just – there's so much less at stake when it comes to their team versus the Red Bulls. Like I just mentioned, there's a range for them, but the Red Bulls might not even make the playoffs, right? They're already locked into a home playoff game. So I think the Rebels are really going to have to push hard. And if they can get an early lead on them, it's going to just make it so much easier. They're going to be able to lock in on defense, and we've seen them lock in and make it really difficult for teams. So.
No, for sure. I think this has the feeling like it's going to be a close game, right? Like this is going to be a one goal kind of separates this, right? Both teams are really strong defensively. I really think it's, Jason, like you said, it's going to come down to Hani Mukhtar. It could come down even to like a CJ Sapong.
I was going to mention him as well.
Yeah,
that's just because I love him.
But you got like he's been scoring goals this season. Nashville, if their key players can really show up one final time during the regular season, they're playing spoiler against the Red Bulls here. But the Red Bulls are not, an easy win in their own right. The form, I think, recently has shown that. So this is going to be, I think, one of the two major matchups in the Eastern Conference that I really kind of want to definitely focus on when I'm kind of sitting down and I'm watching games this weekend, right? I guess, Vaughn, is there another Eastern Conference matchup that really stands out to you? Or if you want to jump to the West, we can do that as well.
I mean, the other one for me that I think also is a wrinkle to both of these matchups that we talked about is the DC-Toronto game, right? Like, I think it's a game people are kind of like not looking at so much because, DC is a little bit further deeper in the standings. They've had this drop off. Toronto is, bottom of their conference, disappointing season. But if DC can get a win there, it's going to really mix things up. And make that much more importance on the Red Bulls and Montreal matchups. Personally, I'm kind of writing off Columbus. But
yeah, they got to play Chicago. So,
I just think at the end of the day, the other results are going to really knock Columbus kind of out of it. Yeah. I believe DC has the tiebreaker against them.
Yeah.
Currently, so if DC gets the win, it's going to really shake things up significantly.
If DC gets the win, it's going to be put a lot. I kind of wish the DC game was a little bit earlier because of the amount of pressure that would put on a lot of teams.
Yeah. I will say credit to the schedule makers because, you talked about all the positions that are open. We've got one of the 14 playoff spots locked down going into decision day. That's insane.
No, it's honestly incredible the amount of, kind of fluidity that can happen. That was the word that can happen on this decision day. And really, outside of the Revs finishing first in the East, we have no idea where people are going to finish. So I guess, Jason, just to kind of wrap up the East super quickly, which three? I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Which three teams make it out of this out of this whole race?
I think Atlanta makes it. They're playing Cincinnati, and they're in easily the best spot. Let's gotta go wrong. I think Montreal makes it, and I think the Red Bulls make it.
Okay, Vaughn, I'll throw the same question at you. Who is your three?
Oh man, I agree. I think Atlanta makes it, and just. I don't even know, man. It's so hard to even guess.
You're just like grasping at straws or whatever.
No, because it's totally guessing what the results are going to end up being. Who's going to win which games by how much. I'll go with Atlanta, Orlando, and let's imagine DC has a comeback.
I'm going Atlanta, Montreal, Orlando. I think Atlanta beats Cincy. I think Montreal beats Orlando at home, and I think Orlando squeezes in with the potential Red Bull loss. So that's kind of where I'm going with this three games.
I kind of hope Vaughn's scenario happens because it'd be the most chaotic.
It would be easily the most chaotic. Let's jump over into the Western Conference games where there's still plenty of action in their own right? The one thing I do want to note about the Western Conference matchups is Houston does not play. Houston already announced, I guess, a little while ago, Tab Ramos has been let go as manager. So, Vaughn, we'll probably dive into that a little bit later on. But Jason, I'll start with you again. Western Conference matchup, which one's the most intriguing to you right now?
I think who does RSL play again? SKC, right?
RSL, SKC.
I think that's the one that I'm going to choose. Sorry, Vaughn. Maybe you wanted to choose it. But I just think that one's really, really interesting because obviously RSL is kind of on the outside looking in at the moment. And SKC is out there in second, but they're tied on points with Colorado. So there's a little bit of movement that – and I think Seattle's only one ahead. So there's a chance that they could go from first to third, one of those first, second, or third, which is a pretty big difference. And RSL, that loss this past week to Portland was really rough for them because that was their game in hand. That was the one they needed to get points from. Even if it was just 1 point, it would have helped them. It wouldn't have been perfect. But the fact that they lost that puts them in this really tough position where now they're tied on points with LAFC, who have who are they playing? Oh, Colorado. Another tough game for them. But one of those teams, I mean, they both could miss. I think one of them will get in, and I think RSL really have to look at this game. And at this point, that's all their eggs got to be in one basket. Like, you got to go for it on this game, and it's win or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, you hit it perfectly. SKC, they're fighting for that top spot in the West, right?
Yeah, so they're not gonna just like float out any squad. They're gonna want to win.
Exactly. And RSL, they're fighting for their lives at this point. When I look at this matchup, I really kind of look at, I really like what RSL's done with the 3-man back. I look at kind of Aaron Herrera as now playing a center back in this RSL system, and he has really excelled. I think he had an own goal like last weekend, but outside of that, he really has excelled in kind of being a little bit of like an Andy Nahar creative force within that 3-man back line for RSL. So I like this RSL team. I just don't know if they're going to turn around, get the job done on the road against SKC, even though SKC's form hasn't been positive in its own right. But Vaughn, I mean, you're the SKC man on the show. Give your boys some hope. Give your boys some confidence that they're locking down the number 1 seed right now.
I have zero confidence right now. The wheels are coming off a bit. I think that honestly, my feeling on SKC is that they need to get that first seed to have a shot at MLS Cup. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is they so desperately need to get some rest on those legs. Peter Vermes, as much as he doesn't want it to be the narrative, he's running some of these guys into the ground.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of depth on the team right now. And I've had some thoughts about that, right? Like, this is a team that has not had Polito out there for large stretches of the season. They're a team that sold one of their best players in Busio.
Yeah.
Isimat Marine, who's their starting center back, has not had a lot of time to build a partnership alongside Andreu Fontas, and it shows down the stretch here. And even right now, they're missing Jose Maury. So I think that there's a lot of pieces that are not where they need to be heading into the postseason. And you want to see a team that's hitting their stride and getting those results. And it just doesn't feel warm fuzzy right now as a Sporting KC fan. So yeah, I think this game is pretty pivotal to set the tone, both for the end of the season and secondly, to secure that first seed. And I don't know, even with a win, if they're going to be able to do that with Seattle controlling their own fate.
I mean, if they are, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, go for it, Jason.
If they are able to get that first seed too, that means you're going to miss Seattle and Colorado to potentially the conference finals, which, I mean, you're only going to have to play one of them, which is a definite plus.
Although I think they match up better against Seattle and Colorado than some of the other teams.
Honestly, yeah, I was going to say, like, especially with some of these other teams hitting some form right now, I think you might want to take Seattle or Colorado right now.
I don't want to see Minnesota again. I'm sick and tired of Minnesota beating KC's butt. Portland looks horrifying. Vancouver is really hard to break down right now.
Love to see it.
Yeah, it's a mess.
So, I mean, I kind of wanted to transition into that Vancouver-Seattle matchup because that, I think, is, arguably one of the 3 most important matchups in the Western Conference for decision day. Vancouver hosting Seattle, 1, Cascadia rivalry, always huge game, right? But now 2, this is again, kind of similar to what we talked about before. Vancouver's playoff season lifeline is all into this game. Seattle, they're fighting for kind of locking down that number 1 seed, right? So different forms though. Vancouver's hot. Vancouver, since Mark Dos Santos has left, has looked like a completely different team. And since Ryan Gauld has, I think, been officially signed and on the field, Seattle, the last 5-ish games has looked crappy. And that's not normally what we see of Seattle, especially the Sounders of this year. Jason, I'll toss this to you since I know you do have to leave in a few minutes. Seattle, Vancouver, I mean, this is a big game. This is a huge game.
Massive. Yeah. Personally, I think Seattle's going to get the job done. I just think, they scare me. They got Jordan Morris back recently. So, obviously he came off a pretty significant injury, but
yeah,
he's coming back at the right time. And if he can give them anything for this playoff run or including this game, because I feel like decision day almost starts the playoffs. It's like the first game of the playoffs because there's so much going on. So if he can give them anything, it's a massive plus for them. If he can give them a little bit, no matter what, it's just like a net gain unless he's, I don't know. He won't play if he's not doing well. But to me, like where it all comes down to is just how are these teams going to be seated at the end of this? Because I almost feel like the West is a little bit more interesting than the East just because of where the teams are and who they're playing. Like Vancouver, Seattle, Salt Lake, Kansas City, Colorado, LA Galaxy. There's a lot of teams with a lot on the line playing each other. So those games are all going to be like mega competitive. Yeah. And it's going to be, I don't know. I kind of want to get to the part where we say who's going in because my brain is like trying to work through the points.
Next week, man.
Like if these guys beat these guys, I'm like, oh man, how is this going to work?
No, in all honesty, right? So like this Vancouver Seattle matchup, like this is really one of the interesting ones. And like you said, Jason, like the Eastern Conference, it's a lot of like playoff teams or borderline playoff teams playing teams that like are already eliminated, right? There's
like
a lot
Atlanta versus Cincinnati,
or even Toronto, DC, right? Like it's like DC should pick up the points, Atlanta should pick up the points, but is it actually going to happen? We don't know. But like at the end of the day, like you have a lot of games on the line.
Colorado, LAFC is another one that's like Colorado potentially also could get that number 1 spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and LAFC has been playing very strong to end the season. Arango has been a nice little addition to them, scoring a shit ton of goals in a short amount of time for LAFC, right? So there's a lot on the line. But Vaughn, I guess I'll turn things over to you. Is there a Western Conference matchup? It could be that Colorado LAFC one. It could be Galaxy Minnesota, whatever it may be. Is there one that you're really kind of eyeballing that you're going to be watching heavily?
I don't. My head's going to be spinning honestly for this Western Conference. I was wrong earlier. There's one other matchup that's locked down, and that's Portland in the 4 seed.
Yes.
So, but once again, all of the other games, all the other teams that are in the playoff hunt are playing each other.
Is it Portland and New England the only 2 who are completely locked in their spots?
Yeah. Everyone else can move.
That is wild.
So in the West, all of the spots for the home games are locked down. So the movement, I think what's going to happen is total chaos, and Seattle and Vancouver, like that's going to be the game. The entire league's going to have their eyes on it at the end, trying to see what's going to shake out. LAFC, Colorado, I'm expecting a result there. I just think chaos is what's going to happen. So I think LAFC is going to win that game.
I agree. I think LAFC,
as well.
Their recent form wins that game.
I can't imagine a Bob Bradley team coming out flat in that situation. And we saw Vela make it on the field. I think Vela is going to be out there with Arango, with Rodriguez. They are going to be full force, and it's going to be a matter of how leaky they are in back. Period. End of story. But if there's a team that I want to go up against, in terms of leaky and back, Colorado is one of those teams. So I think LAFC has a good shot there. And all the other matchups are just nutty. Like Minnesota, LA, what's going to happen there?
Exactly. Both
a draw. Like I just don't even know how it's all going to shake out. Every single team is either fighting for first or they're going to be fighting to make it in. It's going to be a little wild out in the West.
Do you mean neither of you guys are watching San Jose Dallas? Like no one's watching, probably the worst game of the weekend.
No.
But no, in all honesty, it's going to be incredible. I think the West is actually a little bit more interesting than the East, even though I started with the East. But after we talked about it, you guys kind of convinced me to sit down and watch the West a little bit more closely. So I guess same question. We'll dive in from the top. Jason, Western Conference. Who are your 3 teams that make it in?
All right, so let me just walk this through, just because it's too much going on. I think Seattle pulls it out and wins.
Okay.
So that would leave. Who are they playing? Vancouver. That would leave Vancouver at 48. Does Vancouver and Minnesota hold the tiebreak over Seattle and LAFC?
It's goals scored next, so
goals for. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so no, neither of them do. Okay, no. Then this actually works out in my brain. I think the Galaxy lose. Oh wait. Oh my God. If the Galaxy lose, then Minnesota has to be in, right? Because that would mean they won.
Correct.
Yes.
And then I think Vancouver loses. And I think Salt Lake and LAFC win. So I think it's Minnesota, Salt Lake, LAFC.
Wow.
Does that work, right? I think it works.
That does work. I'm pretty actually no, Minnesota's
in because they would win first.
They would win. You're right.
Galaxy would be out because Salt Lake and LAFC would be over on points. They'd be tied with Vancouver.
And then goals
in whole gold 4. Yeah.
Yeah, you are correct. So you win Minnesota, RSL, LAFC. Not the 3 that I'm gonna go with, but that's totally fine. Vaughn, I'll let you tackle this one next.
Yeah, I'm going Minnesota, Vancouver, and LAFC.
Minnesota, Vancouver.
I think Minnesota gets the result against the Galaxy. I think they can get that win. And I just like the idea of LA Galaxy falling off from where they started this year. So Minnesota getting the win, Vancouver holding on at 48, and LAFC leapfrogging LA and RSL. So you're going to have Minnesota on 51 points and Vancouver and LAFC on 48.
So I'm like the opposite from you guys. I like the Galaxy in that Galaxy Minnesota game. So I think they win. I think they probably they finish in the playoff spot there. I think Vancouver wins at home against Seattle. I think they pull off an upset in decision day to keep their season alive. So Vancouver and the Galaxy are finishing 5 and 6. And then I think it would have to be LAFC. I think LAFC get the result. They get the point, or they get the 3 points, and I think they come in 8. So I'm gonna go Vancouver, Galaxy.
So you think RSL lose, right?
Yes, RSL lose. It's gonna be fun. I mean, we're all gonna be wrong on it, but right at the end of the day, it's
one of us might be right. I mean, we have a pretty different. So one of us might be right.
We covered our bases.
So I guess, Jason, I want to give you a quick time check to make sure you're good.
Yeah, I can finish up with MLS. And then,
okay. So the last thing that I wanted to mention about MLS conversation, and Jason, you brought it up before, is Jordan Morris. Jomo back for the Sounders, back for the playoffs. He got a few minutes against their midweek game against LAFC. I forgot who they played, but it's been a crazy 2 weeks. My brain's just not here, but he looked explosive coming off the bench. Like, he looked like instant game changer, getting touches. He wanted the ball. He's dishing it out. I really liked what I saw from Jordan Morris in his first game back and his first appearance back. If Seattle can kind of regain their form a little bit, is he their golden ticket, their golden pass right back to an MLS Cup final? I could be overstating that 100% of where I rate Jordan Morris, but I mean, Jason, I'll go to you first.
I think it is a little overstating just because wasn't it an ACL injury?
Yes.
Or it was one of those knee injuries that's pretty bad. I think that's asking a bit too much out of him right away. But I'm not saying he can't. I don't think he can't. I just don't think they can rely on that, because I think that would be really risky for them to put Jordan Morris in and expect him to go 90 minutes plus. I mean, a lot of these games might even go extra. Week after, like in the playoffs. It's just I think too much to ask, unless he's really fit, and I just can't. We just don't know, right? Like we've barely seen him since back from injury, so maybe they'll slowly bring him in, and maybe by the second or third round he's going to be able to do 90 minutes. I just think going into the playoffs thinking he's going to be the one that's going to give them that, like, carry them, I don't think so. But will he give them an extra spark or something? Yeah, I think he definitely can come in, whether that's as a super sub or something, and really make an impact. I definitely think so. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's also going to play he's going to have to play a major impact, because I think Will Bruin just went down with a season injury as well.
They didn't. I read that it wasn't guaranteed he was going to miss the full playoffs.
Oh, okay.
I was like, he just had surgery on his knee.
Yeah,
I think he had a scope done. I think they did like a little clean out sort of thing.
Okay.
So there's like a small chance he can come back, but at that point, like, it's pretty risky.
He went for a patella cleaning,
Yeah, quick little, spring cleaning. But Vaughn, I guess, am I overstating the impact of Jordan Morris, or am I right on the target? And I don't think I'm right on the target, but
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm kind of in Jason's boat, where it's like we don't really know what we're going to get. Schmetzer is going to have to play his cards with Jordan Morris really, really smartly, right? Like, how do you approach it? Do you put him out there at the beginning, and then if he starts dropping off, or you see something, do you sub him then? Like in the playoffs, if a game's going to go 120 minutes, and you're trying to manage your substitutes, that's a pretty big risk to be able to put him out. Bring him on in the 80th minute, and then the game goes to 120, and he tweaks something.
That's a good point.
And you've got to make an emergency sub in stoppage time. Ooh, boy, you're really flirting with fire there.
If you're subbing out a sub for a sub,
that's actually a really good point, because in my head originally I was going to say it's probably better to sub him on later, but now it definitely makes more sense to start him. And
but does he make it 45? Like, I don't know if he's got 45 minutes in his legs. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a really tough call, I think, for Schmetzer. Of course, he sees what's happening in training. He knows the strength and conditioning for Jordan, but I think it's going to be a very interesting thing for us to keep an eye on how Schmetzer is able to get him on the field and for how long. And in terms of super sub, I mean, he could absolutely be that guy that comes on and you're putting a best 11 player on the field, and it's Seattle, and we know what they do in the playoffs. Like, history says, yes, Jordan Morris is going to come on the field and he's going to lead them to MLS Cup, because that's what Seattle does.
There's definitely a scenario where Jordan Morris is just like unreal.
But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is like Jordan Morris, I personally think when he's healthy, he's fully fit, he's a top 5 player in MLS. That could be a bold statement. I don't know, but that's what I personally believe. And I think he could potentially, if he can go 45 minutes a game up until MLS Cup, and maybe you start him at that point, but if he goes 45 minutes a game, I think he's a major impact, whether you're starting him for 45, whether you're playing him off the bench for 45, or whatever Schmetzer's going to do, right? I just think he could be such a positive key to a team that's struggling right now, form-wise. I think a team right now struggling with injuries as well. You got a lot of guys who's playing international minutes too. There's a lot going on with the Sounders in 2021, and I just think Jordan Morris could potentially really be that great piece for that team to just kind of, again, be the Sounders.
And who knows, like, we're kind of speculating on what he can and can't do. Like, they are going to know way better than us. Maybe he can go 60 minutes. Maybe he can go 90. Like, if he's able to do that, and we obviously don't really know. They also have this game this week that is, it's 90 minutes, right? So throw him out there, I think, maybe for 45 the second half. And if he's doing it and he comes off the pitch and he's like feeling good, he can go more, right? And then you get kind of like a baseline. But I assume they're doing some sort of training regimen or whatever that they know, right? He's been injured before and he's come back and he's been awesome. So
yeah, I mean, well, like you said earlier, Jason, decision day is almost like that first round playoff game, right? Vancouver is going to be throwing everything at the wall they can to win on decision day. And if you can test Jordan Morris in that setting, I think that's you're really going to see what he can do in the playoffs, right? You're really going to see the minutes that he can put on his knees. But yeah, I mean, that's I wanted to make sure we talked about Jordan Morris just because, one, I'm a fan of him, but two, he could also play a big piece in this playoff run for the Sounders. Is there anything else, decision day, MLS playoffs, anything like that you guys wanted to bring up, talk about? Jason, I'll let you get your last words in if there's
I have a couple small things before I leave that aren't really related. Well, they are related to the notes because
they're not related about soccer. It's fine.
One, I'm going to the US-Mexico game on
Friday,
so I'm pretty hyped for that.
It's on my birthday, so
driving out to happy birthday!
Thank
you. Driving out to Columbus. Cincinnati. Ooh.
Cincinnati.
I got my wrong up. And then also I'm back on the El Paso train, literally train, because let's go in the playoffs. El Paso, choo-choo.
The one time of the year Jason pays attention to the USL champions. But
El Paso is it. I want to root for them. Maybe this year they'll make me proud and make me a fan forever.
See, and you got Logan Ketterer, former Portland Timber goalkeeper in net. Look, it's making all these connections.
It gets a little bit worse, huh?
I'm going to get your face on a train just the same way we have your face.
I think we did it last year, didn't we?
Did we? Well,
maybe not. I don't know. But
it's going back.
It's going to be like
on the train. Back on the train.
Just like the Peppy train, but it's Jason on the El Paso logo.
I was thinking like Thomas the Tank Engine, but instead of that face, it's mine.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll get working on it after this, okay?
Like all gray. Isn't it gray? I don't know.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you for the USL Championship reference. I appreciate that, and thank you.
I saw it in the notes. I was like, I have to mention it.
I have to mention it.
They're back. This is not only could they win a cup, they could also win a fan.
Hey, they lost that last year, but now you got a second chance. All right. I'll let you go, Jason. Thank you. Appreciate the time, man. Peace. All right, Vaughn, it's just you and me. We're going to wrap things up, or not wrap things up. We're going to talk, steer away from MLS. Actually, do you have anything else MLS Playoff Cup related you want to talk about?
No, we're going to have so much to chat about after decision day and once the playoff seedings are done. I'm just it's a good time of year. And just, I guess, MLS related is the rumor that the season next year is going to be starting February 26th. Yeah. So we're looking at like 17 weeks until the start of the next season.
We have one of the shortest off seasons possible, just even shorter right now. So, you know, I'm sure that'll have no long-term effects on 2022 season with these guys' legs, I'm sure.
Yeah. Are we talking Houston and Tab?
Yeah, we can dive into that. So Houston Dynamo, who don't play on decision day, their season is officially done. They have fired Tab Ramos, not a crazy firing, in my opinion, not a shocking firing. Brand new majority owner. They just hired Pat Onstead, club legend, as their brand new GM. So Tab Ramos, with some shitty performances season-wise behind him, has been let go. I guess to me it wasn't shocking, but I guess what's your thoughts on the Tab Ramos firing?
Yeah, I mean, a team that has one road win in 2 seasons.
Not great.
Not great. This is and it's a huge market, right? Like, I think we forget that, like, in the U.S., Houston is the 4th most populated city in the U.S.
Yeah,
4th or 5th. Like, it's a massive city. It should be up there with the LAs and Chicagos and New Yorks, and in MLS, it's just not. This is a franchise that really needs to turn things around, and I think it's going to be a pretty appealing position, especially compared to some of the other MLS openings. I think they were showing that there's going to be 3 DP spots open, 2 U22 spots, new GM, total roster rebuild, lots of flexibility. As I said, huge market. It's going to be a project that, for the right person, could be really, really appealing and really rewarding. And I think it's something to keep an eye on for next year, if Houston can turn some things around and really kind of change the trajectory of their franchise.
And you have a new owner who's already come out and said he wants to spend more money. He wants to be able to dive into the global market a little bit more. And, you know, even in, I guess, the larger picture of things, you have an established, second team already with RGB Toros, right? Like, not that that's an official, I guess, 2 team, but you have an established second team. There's a good pipeline. You have Wilmer Cabrera, right? Former Dynamo manager. He's coaching that team. Like, you have a lot of connections there. There's a lot of positives around it. And I was super high on when they signed Tab Ramos. I wanted Tab Ramos to work out really well, him getting his first club chance. And I would like to see him get a chance somewhere else, because I do think he does do a really good job working with youngsters. But I just think Houston, with where it was when they hired Ramos, just was never going to be successful. I think you could have thrown a lot of people in there and they wouldn't have been successful. I guess just now I also get the clean start, right? You want to kind of get that fresh start, new manager, new ownership, leadership, all that stuff, and just kind of have it be fresh. And Ramos just wasn't in the plans, and I get it, but it sucks. I liked him. I wanted to see him succeed somewhere, and I hope we get a chance to see him succeed somewhere, as well. But
well, and looking at the standings, right? Like, I think the Texas teams all have their work cut out for them.
Yes.
Right. Like you look at it, and like Austin entered the league, fantastic, great energy around, and things that are going really well as for an expansion team, but the results weren't what people were expecting or hoping for.
Yeah.
And then you got FC Dallas that has built this. They are known now for being a development team. And they're about to sell one of their biggest stars, Pepe, in this offseason. I see no way that Pepe is still in Dallas come the start of 2022.
I mean, we said that about DK after his loan deal.
I said DK was coming back down.
You did. You know what? You did. You're right.
I didn't see him actually going for 20 million. Pepe's gone. Like, Pepe is going to go. Whether or not he goes to the right place is a whole nother conversation.
He's not. That's all I have to say.
Well, I think recently the same Man U is the front runner. I'm like,
apparently that's one of the numbers out there.
What, he's going to be stuck behind Ronaldo? Like, what? Are you kidding me? No, get out of here.
He's better than Ronaldo. He's beating Ronaldo.
That Pepe train is becoming a high-speed bullet train.
Yeah. You're right about Austin. You're right about Dallas, and then I think Houston might be at this point, they might be in a better spot than Dallas. I would have said a few weeks ago they might have been in the worst spot of the 3 teams. I think Austin, year 1, they're still learning. They're still figuring things out. Young head coach, attractive, like stadium attractive, like vibe around the entire thing, right? They're going to learn. They're going to build off year 1. Dallas, I think, from what ownership says to the public and for what they're doing, internally, I think it's 2 different things, but I think they're definitely established themselves as a financially good team. Just on the field, I don't think they're ever really going to put in all their marbles to be an MLS Cup winner. But if their club is happy with making money off the next Justin Che, Ricardo Pepi, Jesus Ferreira, Paxton Pomykal, then good for them. But I think Austin is really in that kind of a sweet spot where they can really take a major step forward in this offseason if they really want to and really be a competitor within MLS.
Talking about Austin or Houston?
Houston.
Yeah, Houston. I agree. I think Houston's the one that's in a position where they can flip the script really quickly.
Yeah.
They can be the next Colorado, right? Like, you pick your style, you pick your niche within MLS, and you hone in on that. 2 to 3 years from now, Houston could be a contender.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
I don't think they're going to be a team that is going to all of a sudden start developing players like Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to change their identity on that. And Austin's a newbie. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. They look great on paper, but it hasn't come all together.
Yeah.
Josh Wolf could be a short-termer. We don't know.
He could be Tab Ramos.
Exactly. So I think Houston is a team to keep an eye on this offseason, because they could also go the Cincinnati route and bring in and swing and miss on a whole lot of players. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. But I think on paper, Houston's going to look like a team trending upward come the start of the season.
Well, Houston's got 17 weeks to get some magic going. Apparently, because I didn't even hear about the early 2022 season start, so that's incredible. But let's kind of transition away from MLS and let's kind of continue, but also wrap things up in the episode and talking USMNT, right? So the U.S. men's national team roster has been dropped for the two upcoming World Cup qualifying games against Mexico on November 12th in Cincinnati that Jason is going to. So if you're going to that game, then message Jason, say what's up. And then also the Jamaica game as well. So let's kind of, I guess, go through this. There is some surprising names, I feel like, on this roster. There's maybe some interesting kind of points to talk about, but I guess we can start with the goalkeepers. Nothing really changing. Matt Turner from the Revs, Zach Steffen from Manchester City, who just signed a contract extension through 2025. So congratulations to Zach Steffen. And Sean Johnson from New York City, who's looking like he's just turning into, Triple G's third goalkeeper. He's turning into that role there. So I'm okay with it. But I guess, is Turner still your dude? Really easy conversation. I feel like to me, it's still Turner, Steffen, Johnson. But I mean, I guess there is potentially a piece where Steffen gets number one spots in someone's hearts.
I think we're going to see 1-1. Honestly, I think we're going to see Turner probably for the Mexico game, I think, and Steffen for Jamaica.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm not even going to try to force a conversation into that. It's 100%, I think, what we're going to get. Left backs, or I'll go fullbacks in general on this roster. Anthony Robinson, Sam Vines making it back from his broken collarbone. So welcome and good to see you back, Sam Vines. DeAndre Yedlin, Reggie Cannon, and Joe Scally getting his first, full call up for the USMNT. No Serginho Dest. Dest is injured right now with Barcelona, so that's why he's not on this roster. I gotta say, seeing a NYCFC product, a Long Island native in Joe Scally making this roster, I'm loving it. He has been absolutely killing it for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's been starting in the Bundesliga. He's also played a little left back too, which I'm not crazy about. I want to see right backs play right back and left backs play left back because we've seen that with Serginho Dest. But right now, I think Yedlin probably is the starter out of this group. I think Greg Berhalter trusts DeAndre Yedlin a lot, but I would like to see Joe Scally get some minutes. He's clearly doing it on a well-known Bundesliga team. I want to see what the kid's got at this point. I mean, I'd like to see it against Jamaica and we save Cannon and Yedlin for Mexico, but I mean, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a toss-up for me on who's going to start. I think Yedlin probably does. I don't think for both games. I think Scally's going to be like a bench option, depending on how Yedlin's doing, the form in the game, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I wouldn't be shocked if Cannon got the start in the second game. Yeah. Obviously, Dest is probably the biggest name missing from this roster of guys that I think were expected to be called in. And I think he's nursing an injury, I believe.
He picked up an injury early last week in a Barcelona game.
Yeah, so that's really what we're at. I mean, and Anthony Robinson, I'm expecting to get the starts on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Sam Vines get some minutes. I know his arrival to Antwerp wasn't, the best with the injury coming so soon after his debut and everything like that. But happy to see him back. I'm personally not overly impressed with George Bello. Bello's super young in his own right, and so is Vines. So I'd like to kind of see the two of them battle it out, I guess, for this backup left back spot. But it'll still be interesting because I don't think either of them definitely have their place right there in that backup left back spot. But
yeah, they don't have it locked down.
Yeah, well, we'll see who can impress a little bit. Let's look at the center backs. 4 center backs called in: Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie, Walker Zimmerman. No John Anthony Brooks in this group. Brooks has even come out and said he's not surprised by the non-call up because his form has been poor for Wolfsburg, and I like that. I like that he can own it. He can admit it and say, I've been playing like shit. I don't deserve to be called up. But this group is an interesting group, right? We saw Walker Zimmerman, Miles Robinson play and start with each other in the Gold Cup. Miles Robinson clearly has maybe been on the highest trajectory of any USMNT player over the past few months. Chris Richards, we saw last qualifying games, and he looked good. Mark McKenzie getting minutes for Genk, and he's continuing to stay within the group. So, I mean, like, it's Miles Robinson and who else for you? I mean, I'm assuming you're picking Miles Robinson, but I think it's Miles Robinson and someone else. I just don't know who the someone else is.
I think it's Zimmerman for me. I think Zimmerman's going to be the first option ahead of Mckenzie. I think Chris Richards is the odd man out in the group. And the one other guy we haven't mentioned that missed out here is Tim Ream.
Yeah.
A guy getting captain's armband for a lot of games and isn't here for World Cup qualifying, and he's in form. He's been playing well for Fulham.
Yeah.
In this group for me, it's probably Robinson and Zimmerman.
I think Robinson and Zimmerman get the Mexico game, and I think it's going to be Richards and Robinson for Jamaica. I think Greg has been hesitant on calling up and playing Richards, but I really liked what I saw from Richards last time. Well, the only time I guess we saw him in the USA kit, so I want to see him continue to get minutes and play. I like Mark Mckenzie. I know you said Richards is the odd man out in this group. I really feel like Mark McKenzie's kind of turning into that odd man out, even though I really like him. I like that he's consistently getting called up. I just don't think he's always getting the minutes that is going to keep him within that center back group, especially if Brooks somehow turns it on, right?
Well, like I was talking about Issy Montmorin with Sporting KC and not having a lot of minutes out there. That's my concern with Chris Richards is that there's not a lot of on-field partnership minutes with these other three. With Richards. So that's my concern is in a World Cup qualifying match, I don't know that he puts Richards out there next to one of those guys with them not having a lot of time on the field together.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of pushing Richards to the side. We've seen Mckenzie out there alongside the other guys. And so I think that's ultimately what happens.
No, totally fair there. Moving on into the midfield, I guess the defensive midfielders are players that can play defensive midfield. I don't know if they're all true defensive midfielders, but Tyler Adams, Gianluca Busio, Kellen Acosta. I think, again, very easy conversation in that Tyler Adams is our D-mid. He is our 6 for life. Gianluca Busio, really, he's done a lot of impressive things within this area for Venezia. So I wouldn't hate to see him get some minutes if we have to, have Adams kind of rest a little bit, especially hopefully against Jamaica, not Mexico. But if we have Busio playing the 6 against Jamaica or subbing on at the 6 against Jamaica, I wouldn't be upset because we've seen him do really well within the last few weeks within this area. And I'm sure you're happy to see that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm probably a bit of a homer here, but personally, I would love to see Adams start at right back with Busio at the 6.
No.
That's what I want to see. It's
no.
It's not going to happen, but it's what I want to see. I think it would be an interesting little wrinkle that could happen, but it's not going to.
I never want to see Tyler Adams at the 6 unless we have to. Tyler Adams at the 6.
It's what's going to happen. Yeah, we all know Adams is going to be there. Yeah. The wild card here is Kellen Acosta, right? Like where does Berhalter get him on the field? And he probably will. Like he's probably going to start the Jamaica game.
Probably.
So we'll see how it all shakes out. And some of it's going to also depend on the result against Mexico too. We'll see.
Yeah, does Jamaica turn into, okay, we can rest some guys, or does Jamaica turn into, we didn't get any points against Mexico, we need to make sure we get 3 against Jamaica? That's really, that's a fair point of kind of how the Mexico result plays out is, I think, how we're going to view the Jamaica game for sure. Let's kind of push up into those 2 other midfield spots, right? I guess Kellen Acosta can be grouped into this as well, but you do have that Kellen Acosta. But you also have Yunus Musa, Sebastian Lletget, Christian Roldan, and Weston McKennie. I almost said Mark McKenzie. Weston McKennie, Jesus Christ. But you have that group. I think, again, from what we saw last qualifying, I think it's McKennie and Musa as those 2 8s, right? I think Lletget's kind of falling out of favor with Greg and I think USMNT fans overall. And I think Roldan's just kind of there as an extra potential. Maybe Roldan bumps up into the wing if we have to type of deal. But I mean, is it for you? Is it McKennie and Musa still kind of strong?
Yeah. I think that's the best pairing that they're going to be able to do in the central midfield.
100%. And again, not much conversation around that. A lot of these positions really are starting to kind of lock in and come into focus, which I'm happy about, right? We're not arguing.
That could be the other thing that happens for Busio is if it starts with McKenzie and Musa, Musa could come off for Busio.
Yeah, Busio can even bump up into that, and I wouldn't hate it, right? I wouldn't hate it at all because we've seen his versatility, we've seen his ability to get involved in the attack, play more central, play defensive. We've seen what Busio can do, and I want to see him kind of do that with this group. I think that's the next step, is getting integrated into the USMNT group and doing that. Let's look at the wings. So you have Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Timothy Weah, Paul Arriola. The big name missing out of this is Gio Reyna, who is still injured for Borussia Dortmund. So I guess Paul Arriola, I would say, probably was that dude who kind of filled in for Reyna there. But Pulisic's back. That is an absolute positive. I know that his injury, it may have opened up some conversation for a particular podcast host to say, are we better without Christian Pulisic? Maybe that's the one talking right now. But Christian Pulisic, he's back. He's our left winger. I guess who kind of fills in at that right wing? Is it Weah for you? Is it Aronson for you? Does Paul Arriola get the start? Because, I mean, knowing Greg Berhalter, we can just see Arriola get thrown in there.
Yeah, I think it should be Aronson, personally. If we're talking about the Mexico game, I'm hoping it's Aronson.
Yeah.
If it's not Aronson, then I hope it's Weah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm personally, and I think I've said this on the last podcast, like I'm super high on Timothy Weah. I think Timothy Weah, outside of Christian Pulisic, might be our most talented winger. It's just getting him to consistently play, his injury history, right? Like, do you want Weah playing 90 or do you want him coming off the bench as a super sub? I'm okay with Pulisic, Aronson, and then Weah coming off the bench, have him kind of be that impact dude, because he's been starting, he's been playing for Lille too, which is also nice to see there. So a lot of these guys are playing over in Europe, consistent minutes, good minutes. So that's also nice to see. And let's finish off with the striker group. I guess the two only true strikers. Again, you want to throw Timothy Weah in there? Sure, you can, but I don't know how much of a striker he is. But you got Ricardo Pepi, all aboard the Pepi train, and you got Jesus Ferreira, who maybe is the questionable call-up from a lot of people. I know a lot of people are happy to see it. I know a lot of people saying Jesus definitely deserves the call-up, especially from the season that he's had. But again, is Jesus Ferreira a striker? He's playing not at striker for Dallas. It's a lot going on, right? And you got two dudes playing on the same club team, playing at the same position for their national team. It's interesting. But I guess, do you like the Jesus Ferreira call-up over a DK, over a PFOC, over a Hoppy? I hope that's everyone that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I've heard from Greg Berhalter when he tried to justify this was that he's looking for, in these two matchups, movement from the front 9 spot, which is the reason that Pepi and Ferreira are there. Pepi's going to be the starter, no doubt about it. What I like about Ferreira, what I think he could come on and do for the team is provide some different offensive looks if it's getting a little stale, because we all know he's better as a second striker. We know he's better coming back to the ball. And so I think if he's out there at the same time as Pulisic, that's when you're going to start seeing those runs where Pulisic's going to be getting more into the front line and being the focal point of trying to get the ball to his feet. That's not going to be the case with Pepi. With Pepi out there, it's going to be move around in the box, find that extra little space, be a pest with the center backs, try to pull them out, which is probably going to be a bigger thing to do with Jamaica than with Mexico. So yeah, we'll see how it shakes out, but I think that's what we're going to see is Pepi's going to be the number one, and if Ferreira's out there, it's going to be trying to create space for guys like Pulisic and Aronson to get in behind.
For sure. I think Pepi clearly, again, I think the same way we kind of talked about DK a few months ago, the starting striker job is Pepi's job to lose right now. If he continues to go out there and plays well, he is going to be the 9 game in and game out until, someone else hops on the scene, right? But I think it's going to be really interesting for me to see how Pulisic plays with Pepi against Mexico. Like, these are two dudes who have never played with each other before, right? It's going to be interesting to see kind of how they play off each other, work with each other, and eventually, hopefully, we get a goal at the end of the day.
Pepi's going to get a hat trick against Mexico, and he's going to be $30 million player.
That's it, and he's going to beat out Ronaldo for the starting striker job in Man U. That's it. He's Newcastle's first signing. That's really what it is after the whole $500 million fucking whatever it is. But No, I mean, honestly, I don't hate also what you're saying with the switch up with Ferrara. Like, right, he kind of subs in and he's playing a little bit more hold up, and you can let, a dude like Pulisic, Weah, Aronson just kind of run by you, and Ferrara's playing that ball in, right? 8 goals and 8 assists on the season. He's played really well. He's playing well. He's distributing. I think he deserves the call up. I'm just interested to see if he steps up to the moment, because I'm not entirely sure if he does and if he can. So that's really kind of what I'm interested to see with the Jesus Ferrara call up. I personally would have liked to see DK get called up and get a second shot, but I guess I can only ask for so much from Greg Berhalter.
My biggest concern, it's just so thin on that front line. Like Pepe and Ferreira, like one of them goes down injured against Mexico, and the other matchup's not working.
Timothy Weah. That's it. But no, it's going to be interesting. I guess, only having 2 games this window might be a little bit more of a positive, less stressful, right? If we get one result, we can't, I guess, ask for too much in the second game. I'm hoping we can just get a result against Mexico. At the end of the day, I'm hoping it's my birthday gift, is that the U.S. can just they always play on the 12th. They always play on November 12th, and they never get a result. And I know this because it's my birthday every year, and I always get disappointed. So I don't know if I will be able to watch the full game that night, but we will hope and pray for a result. Anything else USMNT stuff that you want to talk about, you want to kind of chat through with this?
I guess maybe setting expectations for people out there, right? Like it feels like anytime the U.S. men's national team loses in World Cup qualifying, it's like the sky is falling.
Yep.
To me, from these 2 games, 3 points, good. 4 points plus, gravy.
6
Anything
points.
less, okay, you're allowed to panic a little bit.
6 points, we're winning the 2022 World Cup.
That's it.
Boom. Yes, that is it. No, I think realistically we get 3 points. I think we lose against Mexico. I think we beat Jamaica. And again, this is all thinking, hoping, more trying not to get myself too overhyped. If we get a draw against Mexico, I think that's a great result.
I think we could get 2 draws and be at 2 points through these 2 games, and there's going to be some sky is falling.
I wouldn't be happy with the draw against Jamaica.
No, I wouldn't either. But that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, find a way to get 3 points from the 2 games.
Yep.
Come hell or high water. Shoot, you could beat Mexico and get played off the field by Jamaica. Still positive. That's
if that happens, the sky's falling. If we beat Mexico 20-0 and we lose to Jamaica 1-0, the sky's falling. And USMNT Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. There's no US.
How do you lose to a country like Jamaica?
Yeah, exactly. Mikel Antonio's putting away the fucking only goal of the game, but whatever. So USMNT fans, everyone said this, try to be less toxic. I think that's the only way we can potentially kind of just hope to do better as a soccer country, is the fans should shut the fuck up sometimes. And that includes me 100%. I'm going to throw myself in that category. But let's wrap things up. The Revs, they dropped their new logo. We've talked about the logo in previous episodes. Are you happy with the timing of the logo just before the playoffs? They're going to officially release it for use of next season.
I mean, great. They got home field advantage. Let them sell it in the team store and get people wearing it. Sure.
I'm happy that the Crayola flag won a supporter shield. That's all I'm happy about. Keep that logo at the shield, and that's it.
It didn't make it to the end of the season, though.
No, they're
one game short.
They're officially using it in 2022. They just announced it, today. But no, all good stuff. I like the logo. If you want to hear us argue about the logo, go probably like 10 episodes back. It's probably around there somewhere. And then the last piece that I wanted to talk about was Federico Iguain, Pipa Iguain, officially retiring at the end of the 2022 season. Probably not the way he wanted to go out in his MLS career. Inter Miami missing the playoffs, but definitely an MLS legend, a dude who I think carried the Columbus Crew for years, and then obviously had his few stops afterwards with DC and Miami. But a guy who I loved and enjoy playing. Honestly, the better Iguain brother, the more famous Iguain brother. I love him, and I want to see him coaching somewhere in MLS, and I think he'll definitely get that job. Yeah. Have him coach Fort Lauderdale in USL League One. That's what I want. Inter Miami. That's what I want.
Oh my God. You don't think he's going to replace Caleb Porter? He's not going to pull the Savarese and
No, the crew know what they were getting with Porter this season. They were missing the playoffs. It's just Porter's track record. So they're like, he'll be back in the playoffs next year. So it's all good. They knew what they were getting.
Yep, every other year.
That's it. He wins a trophy every other year. That's it. Cool. My only last thing that I want to say to close out this episode is one, that the MLS Aces podcast is brought to you guys by Soccer 90, our official sponsor of the MLS Aces podcast. So if you guys go to soccer90.com, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, look down below. Use promo code MLS Aces and you get 20% off your entire order at soccer90.com. Thank you to Soccer 90 for sponsoring this episode, sponsoring the podcast. Great company. If you guys don't know what Soccer 90 is, they are the actual soccer store down in Frisco, Texas. They're actually attached to the National Soccer Hall of Fame. So if you're ever there, you can't use this code in store. I apologize. It's only online. But if you're ever there, go check out the store. It's a really cool site, really cool people over there. And make sure you give them a follow on Twitter, on Instagram, all that stuff with Soccer 90. But the last thing that I wanted to say, and kind of continuing with the Texas theme, USL Championship playoffs, Jason brought it up before. Texas is going to have a lot of soccer being played this weekend. And this Friday, tomorrow, San Antonio is hosting San Diego. El Paso is hosting the Oakland Roots to get the USL Championship playoffs started. So if you're a soccer fan, even if you're not a USL fan, watch it. Maybe we can get you on board with Jason to become an El Paso fan because they are having a really great defensive season. A lot of former MLS dudes that, you guys may be like, oh shit, he's in USL.
I don't know if it's helpful if like a third person can help and put it on.